So yeah, Shrines is going to be our next map coming up, and I don't know exactly what to expect there, but I guess Ballistix are still going for the first pick. They're not, or not first pick, the map pick rather.
Oh, that's right. So loser can choose between map pick and first pick, and GLuck lost. They chose first pick, so Ballistix will be continuing the trend of map choice.
They don't have any lost bans this time around, though.
No.
So they're back to full power. And I mean, what if you just say, well, we won a game where we gave away basically everything, so maybe they go for some non-standard bans just because they don't feel like they need it. But most likely, we'll go back to kind of business as usual with probably a Genji ban, maybe a Tyrande thrown in there.
Remember, it's also important to note that Ballistix wants to hide as much as possible before they go into their playoff match next week, which, again, opponent unknown at the moment. So we'll find out if they can close this series out and see what happens with Miracle later on. But, you know, we're seeing this draft that ends up being very counter-dive. It's not very secretive what Ballistix just did, but as the series advances, like you're kind of alluding to, I think, here when they have these bans available for the first time they did not have previously, maybe they try something a little bit out of the box here. Nope. Genji will be banned.
Nope. Nothing out of the box here. I don't think things are going to look any different or than they would normally. So there's the Garrosh ban. So okay, you're going to be targeting the tank pool a little bit. This is probably still either going to be Tyrande, or you can always take...
The Deckard is quite strong here, I think.
Okay.
If you are looking to do Tyrande yourself, if they first pick Tyrande, it's very much pigeonholing. Pistol will take banned. Considered to be very strong in Korea at the moment, despite his very slight nerfs to some of his talents. And GLuck chose first pick over map here, and these are pretty standard open heroes. The go-to might for a team like GLuck be the Maiev again. It looks to set up engage, look for those early game picks, because macro-wise, you're not going to defeat Ballistix, so that's where they head for this first pick.
And it makes a lot of sense. I don't think there was any real true problems. I don't think Maiev was the issue that cost GLuck the game. It's more kind of how everything gels together, and rather how Ballistix was able to deal with things. Like you mentioned, the sanctification, but realistically, it's just who plays the team fights better, and that was Ballistix. So see how they want to do it. Wow, an early pick Raynor. Okay, I mean, I get that they get their Diablo. That's going to look good, but Raynor this early, not without his counters. And it's being picked into a Maiev, right?
Yeah, and Raynor is one of SC's big picks. He was played actually previously by SDE, because SC is the Mephisto player, as we've just learned. But I think for SC, sometimes when you have heroes like this banned, you want to at least get your hero pick out of the way so you don't get countered. We're going to see what has been always called Soranda in Korea for the longest time. So means cow, and this is an old comp that ran for so long, like in 2016, and
for how long?
So long.
Yeah.
But you are looking for power slide into the Lunar Flare. You've got Maiev to back all of that up, so it's very powerful CC. And it's not really rare to see, and I think we'll see a little bit more of this as Tyrande gets more figured out in Korea. Tychus ban, removing the counter to Diablo here. There's been a lot of talk about main tank Zul in Korea, but with both tanks selected here, and for this map exclusively, it's not going to be on the cards. Something I was going to mention if we didn't have this ETC pick. It looks like it's, again, just more normal of a draft. Deckard removed. Putting the pressure on Ballistix to find the correct support. We could just go back to Kharazim here. With ETC always going to be on the front lines, it might be a safe pick.
The white main that was banned away before them, but bringing out the Sonya here. You know, I think we've seen obviously eras where Sonya was much more popular, but certainly now not something that you really get a chance to see outside of the odd Miracle game here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it works really well with white main, the Sonya pick here. Both Sonya and Diablo incredible on this map.
They basically just never die.
Yeah. So it's going to be Phoenix Urel, so keeping it pretty, I guess, high tier here to close things out. Does Phoenix work particularly well with the rest of the 4 heroes? Not in massive synergy, no, but he works well with all heroes in most situations. And his ability to use his disruption mode to get those last hits at range safely with AoE is quite useful on this map. And for the last hero here for Ballistix, they just take Junkrat, who ends up being a semi-global in the late game. Very powerful at the shrine phases themselves. And Ballistix looks like they hit this out of the park. For GLuck, again, just like their playstyle has been for the beginning of their journey into HGC, they have to get picks. They're going to look to get kills. They're not going to be playing the macro game. They're looking to kill people and then win the fight afterwards. Or win the objective afterwards, rather.
I mean, Punishers are some of the strongest objectives that you can get, right? So if they don't win the fights, then it kind of seems like they will lose a long, slow, arduous, death to the objectives that they won't be able to take down. So, I mean, I guess they are playing to what they hope is their strengths, but it hasn't worked out so far. We'll see if Ballistix can, maintain their lead. Obviously, this is still a must-win game for Ballistix. They want to remove the potential of Miracle to take over that third-place spot.
Indeed. Well, I mean, when you look at the comp for GLuck, if they don't win an Immortal fight, which is all the perfect shrine control heroes on the side of Ballistix, only Raynor and Whitemane are like not perfect, they're like still really good. They don't have a macro element outside of potentially ETC going stage dive, which is, I mean, I think really reaching at that point when you're running ETC Toronto.
What are you talking about? You just click on the Raynor in the back line and you just take him out. No counterplay. You know how hard it is to mosh pit a Raynor, Wolf? You gotta get all the way back there.
Sure. He's pretty far back, but Diablo and Sonya, they're pretty... they're putting themselves out there,
Well, Hooligan definitely
look at that.
No stranger putting himself out there, but Myson was a little deep on that one.
Look at the bot push, meanwhile. The whole wave annihilated by SD is. SC is playing Junkrat, actually, interestingly enough. What a day for SC, man, playing 2 non-auto attack heroes in a row. A mage into a Junkrat. Very unique.
Not what you would otherwise expect. I don't know. Maybe he just likes big R buttons. But I mean, he looks super good in game number 1. And obviously, I haven't seen a whole lot of Mephisto games just because he is so new to competitive play. But I mean, he seems to be a little bit more versatile. I feel like people pigeonhole like players that have a niche. They're just like, well, this player does this thing really well. It's like, well, yeah, but he's a professional player and he can probably do just about anything. And I mean, for SC...
Yeah, for the SC, he's like the most like that, though, out of any pro gamer in Korea, that it feels... Oh, sick dodge by SC. It feels so specifically, like, unique to see him on these mage heroes. Especially because on the other side of the coin, until very recently, SDE, outside of Tychus, was almost purely secondary DPS player. So to see him on the actual auto attack hero and to have SC on the more mage-like type, I wouldn't call Junkrat a mage, but you know what I mean. He's a more specialist-style DPS. It's kind of weird. Okay, this is very much overextending here by GLuck. Look at that concussive mine. There's no way out. I'm sorry.
What is Rock? Yeah, Roxer's best case here is that, I don't know, you miss like a charge or something? I don't know.
SC is just soaking mid basically through this and just occasionally coming down to put those mines there. Meanwhile, SDE is smashing the bot lane, like getting so much extra experience. This is worst case scenario for GLuck, in fact, what they've just done. But they're trying to force this early game ETC Toronto pressure to great success. But in this situation, there's no objective to fight over, and you're fighting on the red side of the map. So it was kind of destined to fail from the start, I think, minus a mistake, like you were alluding to earlier.
Right. Man, SDE is really playing macro Raynor here. This is the Raynor that gets the, you have earned such and such more percentage experience than the other Raynors out there reward at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he might as well have taken more damage to minions at level 1 how he's been playing so far.
Well, he also could have like just picked like a Sergeant Hammer and he'd be able to like siege down the towers down there with how quickly able to just like shove the wave, and how you know, GLuck haven't really committed too many resources to stopping that. But now we're going to see the first Shrine phase, and theoretically this is where Ballistix would have a slight advantage, but not if GLuck could take the fight to them.
Phoenix is coming up now, and he was having to deal with that bot camp for a long time. Now is when GLuck could really start to turn the tables on this fight. KCB can do tons of healing output.
Hooligan and Jungha really zoning Phoenix from really getting into that Shrine at all. There's SDE with the DPS, putting the three-letter combinations to pushing Overlord away, so he can't even ever impact this team fight.
The focus fire here is, I think, split and also a little bit incorrect because they've targeted Hooligan. And with Whitemane on the other side, you're just never going to have a good time with that. They've contested a Shrine with no real focal point for the team fight, so no macro. If Phoenix had stayed bottom while they were delaying this, I would have loved it, because then I'd at least have an experience lead leading into this. But they did almost nothing in this fight, and their focus fire was just not all on the same page.
Well, and because their focus fire was non-existent, if you were watching Magi, he was keeping Zeal up on like 3 heroes at the same time. So if you're not focus firing, everything's getting healed all at the same time, and it just, you can't even make a dent. And that's exactly what Ballistix are doing, making a dent with a big Mortar Punisher. It might not get them this fort though, but it does put a big chunk in the middle lane.
Yeah, and that's going to be, you know, relatively easy to finish off later on with a comp that Ballistix is running. So, you know, GLuck, they don't lose anyone. They keep the fort alive for now, which is going to, again, get them closer to 10. But the way that Ballistix has controlled the map, okay, here's a good move right here. This is what I like to see. I was going to say the way that Ballistix controlled the map makes these types of moves very difficult. But this is the invade that could have theoretically worked out. This is the invade that you want to see with this comp, not the one that we saw earlier.
Well, I mean, Magi is doing exactly what you said was so effective about having Whitemane in here. Even if Hooligan gets kind of caught, it's like, is he really? There's so much healing coming his way. He just is absolutely immortal.
Yeah, and the ban we saw earlier, you know, onto Garrosh might have been better fit for Diablo when you look back at it. Very powerful impact Hooligan had on Garrosh previously. Here's that fort going down. But it, you know, with Diablo on this map in particular, especially when Whitemane's open like this, you could just see that Whitemane ruins everything GLuck's trying to do. If it were Kharazim trying to get in there, he'd actually get locked into the stuns as well and would be under duress. He might actually die, but Whitemane could just safely at range make Hooligan, who's already tanky, who's just getting more and more souls here, even tankier, even more difficult to kill. And even with Hunter's Mark, you're just going to have a rough time focusing down this tank in particular. Sure, you'd have similar problems, obviously, with auto attacks versus the Garrosh, but, you know, both of these tanks are a big problem when GLuck is trying to run this pick-based composition, which is what they always do.
Well, it's the same thing that Hooligan and Jungha were doing in game number 1, right? They're just so disruptive.
I can't believe this just happened.
SC, does he need other players on his team? He's just up there like casually 1v3ing. Okay, well, meanwhile, the players that are on his team are getting work done, shoving through the second fort in a row there for Ballistix. And when SC does get help, this is kind of what it looks like. Hooligan helping to stabilize the top lane.
This is just a showcasing of Ballistix' understanding of macro play and what each hero is capable of in terms of stalling. Like, SC bought that time there. GLuck made a slight positional mistake to stand on that concussive mine. But then this leads to 2 forts for none. They only got a wall. Sure, they got 10, which is the primary objective, because without 10 they cannot fight anything. But as we head into this next Immortal phase, Hooligan's full stacks. You know, like, how can you kill him? He's not afraid of anything. You've got to try to kill Sonya, maybe. Here's the Mosh.
Oh my god, that almost kills Jungha, but look at this. It's only an almost with that Whitemane healing.
And the
shrugs off the salvo, and yeah, there's just too many defensive options there for Jungha. Thankfully, Overlord is able to survive, but it might only be momentary. Look at that Riptire. You can't keep SC's bloodthirsty tendencies away no matter what he is playing. He's getting deep in there and takes out Phoenix on the exit.
Perfect interrupt on the jump there. So Asgard tried to jump away with Durell, and he was interrupted by SDE's Q. so he had to use his heroic. That's on a very long cooldown, as you guys can see. Look at your else bar at the top of the UI. Meanwhile, solo is Jungkook, because that's what Sonya does on this map. Gets the Immortal, they get the fight win, force out a very, very expensive heroic to lose.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you know, top lane split pushing. And Ballistix just is doing it all. Like, this is a fantastic Heroes of the Storm team. HGC, Korea has some fantastic teams at the top level. I mean, at the top part of the bracket. This is not even a team that's guaranteed BlizzCon. They might not go to BlizzCon.
That is actually just so crazy to say. I mean, you watch them play like this, just not really skipping a beat, and they still have a chance to not go to BlizzCon for the first time in actually literally forever. Well, not literally forever, but you get the
Since
idea.
they were made, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's going to be Lightning Breath helping to get that kill. This looks like the end of the game right here.
Yeah, I think they absolutely could just push the entire way.
Overlord. Ooh, I don't want to stand that far over there.
He's making the most of his shield usage, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Well, fast respawn timers means that if KCB doesn't go down here, I think that they might be able to defend this. It's going to take a really good mosh pit, though. It's up in 10 seconds.
Punisher's still up, and look at the focus. Even just from Magi, you got to watch out for that guy. His damage is pretty severe.
Look at the positioning here. Roxer cannot mosh. Hooligan's blocking him out. Scarlet here. Look at that dodge on the mosh. Only Magi gets caught.
And they don't even care. He's healing himself back up, and everything is just going their way. SC gets in with the Riptide. Okay, finally we do see some mere mortality here, but Ballistix just can't be stopped.
I certainly cannot. That is going to be the core going down here. 7 kills to 0. All fourths up for Ballistix. They will win game 2 with a perfect game as Overlord looks on. Tragic end to what was such an interesting draft. Old school Tyrande, etc.